The next morning, Simona took Myra to find a uniform, and soon she was dressed in what was to be her daily outfit for the next 6 years. A white dress that went to her ankles, black boots, black stockings, green hair ribbons, and a green apron that went all the way around her skirt. When she got back to her room, Anna Maria and Elena were both doing their hair silently. Elena had tucked her black braids into loops, while Anna Maria was pinning her red ones up again. With her bright red hair and full pink cheeks, she reminded Myra of an apple. Anna Maria's apron and hair ribbons were a rich blue, and Elena's were red, but the rest of their uniforms were identical to Myra's. Together, they looked like paper dolls cut from the same book. Then Simona brought Myra to meet the rest of the paper dolls. There were 3 girls in the other room at Rose Hall. Katya was quite small, with a round face, wide-set eyes, light brown skin, and thick black hair that she wore pinned into buns on either side of her head like cat ears. She stared straight at the floor and held her arms around herself, as if for protection. Daria was her opposite, as tall as Simona, bony and pale, with narrow features and light brown hair and a high braid that couldn't quite keep little curls from frizzing out. She eyed Myra suspiciously. As for the third, her name was Elizabeth, and she was looking at everything but the other girls. She had olive skin and dark hair and 2 braids like Myra's, and she was chewing on her thumbnail. They all stood silently apart from each other, as if each of them were trying to pretend they were all alone. And there they were, the troubled girls of Rose Hall, all lined up in their white dresses and a rainbow of aprons. The uniforms worked. Myra could not tell who was a village girl, who was from the city, and who had a count and countess for parents. One of them could have been a sorcerer's daughter, and she wouldn't have known. She wanted to know desperately what they'd all done to be sent there, and they were surely thinking that about her. Myra could feel their curious looks, the questions bouncing around in their heads. She felt it even as they walked in a line to breakfast, Simona in front like a mother duckling. Myra kept her eyes on the floor ahead of her as they went down 4 flights of stairs into the great hall and into the dining hall. Now Myra looked up and beheld the scene in front of her. The dining hall was set up with 6 rows of tables, 1 for each class. There were about 40 girls in the room, so many girls, and a soft hum of noise, just the clicking of silverware on plates and an undercurrent of quiet conversations here and there. All the older girls sat up straight, shoulders back, heads erect. They sipped their tea without slurping and loaded precisely calibrated amounts of porridge onto their spoons so none would drip over. At the 6th-year table, the girls moved impeccably, precisely, balletically. They ate soundlessly, almost as if they were not eating at all. But when the Rose Hall girls sat down, there was a change in the air, some kind of murmuring. Myra looked up to find that a good half of the room was glancing furtively at her. Everybody seemed to know about the girl who had come late. Myra sat down with her back to the rest of the room, cheeks burning. Simona settled at the head of the table with the grace and propriety of a sorcerer's wife, putting her napkin delicately on her lap. To review for Myra, she said, mealtimes at Dragomir are an opportunity to practice being a lady. Perhaps you girls have not been instructed in true etiquette before. A scoff from Anna Maria. But here you will have the opportunity to learn and behave in a way that would have you welcome on the finest estate in Illyria. As Simona talked, Myra could feel her hands swelling into mitts, could imagine lumps of porridge slipping off her spoon and attaching themselves to various places on her body. Sit up straight, Myra. Speak softly, Myra. Small bites, Myra. Do not hold your knife like you are going to stab your food, Myra. Remember, Simona was saying, whatever happened in your lives before is in the past. This is a fresh start. You are Dragomir girls now, and if you let the school help you, there is nothing you cannot do. Now, let's learn about properly holding spoons, shall we? Holding spoons. This, apparently, was what school for troubled girls was like. Luca got to learn history, philosophy, languages, and literature at his father's side. Myra would become an expert on cutlery holding. Maybe that was what all her classes would be. Morning for knives, afternoons devoted to fork theory. And somehow, Myra was supposed to care about this? The handbook had said that girls would learn to serve and protect Illyria. Apparently, that was done through the care and handling of silverware. Katya, the girl with the cat ear buns, was sitting directly across from Myra, holding her spoon so tightly her hand was shaking. Myra swallowed and looked back down at her own bowl of sticky porridge.